What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, it's been pretty much public knowledge for the last 48 hours that without any word, someone who had been at Marvel Studios since 2006, a full 2 years before Iron Man would even release in 2008, Victoria Alonso, one of their top presidents, departed the company with no word, causing a lot of us who were reporting on it when it was breaking as a story on Monday to sort of speculate, and rightly so, that she might have been fired given the lack of any heartfelt or reflective comment on her part. Really, the same from Marvel. No comment at all made it seem like an unamicable split. Well, in the 48 hours that would follow, several reports pointed the finger at maybe singularly Victoria Alonso being the main problem between Marvel and the VFX artist. Several sources saying that if you could keep in her good graces, it was rewarded with more and more unreasonable deadlines and work, and if you couldn't, that you would be blackballed for life, coming from some sources who claimed they already had. Well, now we have a definitive article and published in the last couple of hours coming from Variety under the headline "Inside Victoria Alonso's Shocking Exit from Marvel Studios," where they not only confirm that she was fired and let go, but they talk about the how and why, what happened behind the scenes at Marvel Studios, what led to this, even name dropping Kevin Feige's role in all that. We're going to read through the article, break it down best we can, explain what happened, and of course, what this means for the future of post-production in VFX as it applies to Marvel Studios. But first, I want to tell you about my friends over at comicbookdirect.com. They are a brand new website that's really putting the ease of buying comic books all in one place. You can go there and get the one-offs you need. They work with all the major distributors, including Marvel, but the major feature, and especially for me, is that if you're in the middle of a run, you can go ahead and subscribe and get those books delivered to you weekly, which makes it easier than ever, especially in the modern day of Marvel, to keep up with these stories. You can go ahead and pay in advance, get a bigger discount, or just pay as you go, and if you act now, for the next 100 people who sign up below, you're going to get 20% off. That link is down in the description. Again, that's comicbookdirect.com, the easiest place to get everything from figures, mangas, collectibles, and especially the comics you want. Okay, so the article starts by talking about a recent story in which Alonso was on a red carpet talking about how hard she had worked to get there and about how she wasn't going anywhere, and then in a rather savage way picks up like this, quote, 8 days later, she was fired from Marvel, confirming that she was let go as the president of physical production, post-production, VFX, and animation. 3 individuals familiar with the matter told Variety. The shakeup came as a surprise to many in the show business and within the vast Marvel comic book fandom. Alonso's dismissal has raised numerous questions about the behind-the-scenes workings at the prized content engine, and with them, another unfavorable news cycle as Disney CEO Bob Iger attempts to stabilize his parent company amid economic unrest. While the cause of Alonso's termination is unclear, the sources said that the decision was made by a consortium including Human Resources, Disney's legal department, and multiple executives, including Disney Entertainment's co-chairman, Alan Bergman, in parentheses, to whom all Marvel Studios reports. Alonso's longtime boss and Marvel Chief Creative Officer Kevin Feige felt mired in an impossible situation and ultimately did not intervene, one source added. Another source added that Victoria Alonso was blindsided and didn't see this coming at all. Then the article talks a little bit about their history and how all of this came to pass. This is where the article gets really interesting, quote, starting on Reddit, followed by a series of stories published across the internet, visual effects artists began to loudly complain about Marvel's demanding post-production schedules. Complaints range from unrelenting overtime to chronic understaffing to the inability to avoid delivering substandard work due to constantly changing deadlines. Some signaled out Alonso as a quote-unquote kingmaker who would blacklist artists who quote-unquote pissed her off in any way. One visual effects artist recently told Variety that the biggest issue for them was Marvel's inability to provide clear guidelines. Quote, the show I was on really struggled because it was an established character whose powers they were reconceiving for the MCU. I think they mean Miss Marvel here. And the artist said it in the condition of anonymity. Most complaints, they said, came down to one refrain. Marvel doesn't figure stuff out beforehand. They actually use a curse word here. YouTube's been really weird about demonetization, so I'm not going to use it. But basically saying they left it up to them, but then they made changes when they don't like this. This is actually a producer meme in the music world when you have a client who just wants you to do everything, and then they tell you whether they like it or not when they're not doing any of the work to tell you what they want in the first place. And for any artist for hire or freelancer knows just how annoying this is because it compounds and multiplies the amount of work you have to do. Now, to be fair, this article goes on to also say this, quote, a different VFX artist threw cold water on the idea that Alonso would signal out individual artists. The idea of a very senior exec terrifying rank and file artists, per some reports, feels a bit off, they told Variety. Above the line, 3 different up-and-coming Marvel actors agreed that Alonso was an only supportive force on set, meaning they didn't see any of what people are talking about. And as I've said before, it is sort of hard to believe sometimes stories on a one-off basis when someone's being anonymous. It's the same amount of skepticism we take to the anonymous stuff we report on when it comes to the plot leaks and the rumors that we cover at the channel. But at this point, there's been way too much corroboration in the industry, and a lot of this is just factual. Look, Marvel Studios is one of the more coveted jobs, meaning that when you have a ton of CGI houses out in the industry who are competing for that work, and like any artist in any industry, they also want it because of how much it'll be seen. It's obviously one of the most coveted jobs because of the amount of exposure you get as an artist. They're all undercutting each other, which is great for Marvel because it means it keeps the cost on these projects lower than if they were a smaller studio who didn't have that clout. So you already have houses coming in, admittedly and from the beginning, undercutting the price of their work. I don't care what industry you are in, if you're doing something at absolute bare minimum margins, everyone's going to be stressed, especially if you make that decision and then enforce it to your workforce. So I already think there was a little bit of crust on top of all of the artists feeling overworked, and then on top of Marvel Studios' MO. But that's not to defend Marvel or Disney at all. There are enough reports, again, from inside the VFX industry coming from multiple different sources that where there's smoke, there's fire, and it's hard to believe that Victoria Alonso was let go for no reason at all. Rather, I think what finally happened was, as Marvel Studios came to this point where they were doing all these internal reviews, when you hear this article say, at least to some sources, that HR and legal were involved, that means that there was some stuff going on, or at least in the reports, that they felt like they weren't comfortable moving forward with. And ultimately, as they say in this article, if Kevin Feige felt like it was a quote-unquote impossible situation, again, that's not for nothing. There must have been something going on there. Now, ultimately, unless we hear it on record from someone who is in the room, we're never really going to know, well, unless maybe Victoria Alonso says so herself. But I'm going to call it like I see it, and it's this. If she was what a lot of people in the VFX industry consider to be one of singularly the biggest problems with Marvel, if they went ahead and replaced her, that would, say, remove a lot of the bad blood that's in the water, or at least go a long way in extending an olive branch to try to rebuild some of those connections and relationships, which I think may be at the core of them reevaluating the product they've been putting out. Because again, if you're one of those people who's just been kicking Marvel because they're down, that's not who I am. But if you're one of those people who has been aptly griping about some of their production and editing gaffes as I see them, which they're sort of hard to avoid, then sort of getting back on page with your VFX artists in industry and getting that up and running to the point, including giving them enough time to work and removing the person that was seemingly the problem. Again, guys, this is what we asked for. We can't be mad they're doing it. Let me know all your thoughts down below. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. All right, we're still giving away a PlayStation 5. The next milestone coincides with Guardians of the Galaxy's release in about a month and a half. If you want to be entered to win, all you got to do, hit the subscribe button, then leave a comment down below, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here, always live with my voice with the comments shown on screen. So make sure, if you should get someone commenting on my channel or anywhere on YouTube, that you go ahead and report those comments. No YouTubers are ever asking you to Telegram or WhatsApp them. We're certainly not making you pay for shipping. I don't. And honestly, there's not winners every day. So the fact that these comments are going out, guys, please be vigilant. Please be safe. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. Thanks for checking the channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.